How does a founder get fired from the company he created? How did Apple turn against its own visionary leader? Was Steve Jobs too difficult, or was the world too slow? This is not just business history, this is a human tragedy. Steve Jobs was not born into luxury or corporate power. He was adopted by a humble working-class family. From childhood, he questioned rules, authority, and ordinary thinking. Jobs believed technology should feel emotional, simple, and beautiful. In the 1970s, computers were cold machines for professionals only. Steve Jobs dreamed of computers made for everyday human beings. He met Steve Wozniak, a quiet genius obsessed with engineering. Wozniak built machines, Jobs built visions and stories. In a small garage, Apple Computer was born. No fancy offices, no investors, only belief and obsession. Their first product, Apple I, was simple but revolutionary. Apple II later became a massive commercial success worldwide. Suddenly, a young Jobs tasted fame, power, and success. By age 30, he was already a multimillionaire. But success also magnified his flaws and intensity. Steve Jobs demanded perfection, even when impossible. Employees feared his sharp tongue and brutal honesty. Meetings could turn into emotional battlegrounds within minutes. Jobs divided people into heroes or complete failures instantly. There was rarely anything in between for him. Still, Apple was growing faster than anyone expected. IBM, the giant, started noticing Apple as a threat. To compete, Apple needed structure, discipline, and experienced leadership. The board believed Jobs was too chaotic to manage growth. That decision changed everything forever. The board hired John Sculley from Pepsi-Cola. Jobs famously asked, "Do you want sugar water or change the world?" Sculley accepted, becoming Apple's CEO in 1983. At first, Jobs and Sculley worked well together. But their personalities soon began to clash dangerously. Jobs wanted artistic freedom, speed, and emotional products. Sculley wanted stability, profits, and predictable corporate strategy. Then came the Macintosh project, Jobs' dream machine. He believed Macintosh would change humanity forever. Jobs pushed the team beyond physical and mental limits. He insulted, praised, and manipulated to extract brilliance. Macintosh was innovative, graphical, and ahead of its time. But it was also expensive and limited in performance. Sales did not meet Apple's aggressive expectations. The board started losing confidence in Steve Jobs. Inside Apple, politics replaced passion and creativity. Sculley slowly gained trust from the board members. Jobs, once the hero, became the problem child. He was seen as unpredictable and emotionally explosive. Jobs tried to remove Sculley behind his back. The plan failed, and everything collapsed quickly. Sculley confronted Jobs with board support. That meeting sealed Steve Jobs' fate at Apple. The board stripped Jobs of all operational power. He was removed from the Macintosh team completely. The company he founded no longer wanted him. Steve Jobs was sidelined, humiliated, and deeply hurt. Imagine building something with your soul, then being rejected. Jobs felt betrayed, angry, and emotionally destroyed. At just 30 years old, he had lost everything meaningful. Steve Jobs officially left Apple in 1985. The world saw it as Steve Jobs' failure. Few realized Apple had lost its greatest visionary mind. But this was not the end of the story. This was only the beginning of a painful transformation. Steve Jobs left Apple feeling empty, angry, and deeply misunderstood. Many believed his career was finished forever. But failure ignited something dangerous inside him. Jobs was not done changing the world yet. After leaving Apple, Jobs founded a new company called NeXT. NeXT focused on powerful computers for education and research. The machines were beautifully designed but extremely expensive. Commercially, NeXT struggled. But technology-wise, it was advanced. At the same time, Jobs bought a small animation studio. That studio was called Pixar, owned originally by Lucasfilm. For years, Pixar burned money without success. People mocked Jobs for wasting millions on cartoons. Then everything changed with one movie. Toy Story became the world's first fully computer-animated film. Pixar became a global phenomenon overnight. Steve Jobs was suddenly a respected visionary again. Meanwhile, Apple without Jobs began slowly losing its soul. The company released confusing products without clear identity. Innovation slowed and profits started collapsing. Apple was close to bankruptcy by the mid-1990s. Ironically, Apple needed NeXT's technology to survive. In 1997, Apple bought NeXT for $429 million. With that deal, Steve Jobs returned to Apple. At first, he was only an advisor. Behind the scenes, Jobs regained control quickly. The board realized Apple still needed his leadership. Steve Jobs became interim CEO, later permanent CEO. This time he came back wiser and calmer. Jobs made brutal but necessary decisions immediately. He killed dozens of useless Apple products. He simplified the lineup into 4 clear categories. Focus replaced chaos for the first time in years. Then came a revolutionary product. The iMac shocked the world with bold design. Apple became cool, creative, and desirable again. Customers started believing in Apple once more. Next came the iPod, changing how humans consumed music. Then iTunes disrupted the entire music industry. Apple was no longer just a computer company. It became a lifestyle and identity brand. In 2007, Jobs introduced the iPhone. One device replaced cameras, keyboards, and music players. The smartphone industry was reborn overnight. Competitors were left shocked and confused. Steve Jobs proved something powerful to the world. A visionary may fail, but vision never dies. Being fired did not end his journey. It refined his purpose and sharpened his focus. Apple became one of the most valuable companies ever. The same company that once rejected Jobs worshipped him later. History remembered Steve Jobs not as a failure. It remembered him as a comeback legend. This story is not about technology alone. It is about rejection, ego, growth, and redemption. Sometimes losing everything teaches you who you truly are. Steve Jobs lost Apple, then rebuilt himself. And in the end, he changed the world forever.